Okay, so thanks for coming. My name is Nishin Nathwani. I am 17 years old, and like the other 5, I'm a British Council Global Changemaker. And I'm going to be speaking to you today about a whole new perspective on international development. So I was 14 when I took this photo after having completed a 1-month retreat in the mountains in one of the most underdeveloped regions of the Himalayas. And 2 things really struck me when I was there. The first thing was that the people, despite having no education, very low life expectancy, and almost no money, were extremely happy. The second thing was that they respected their environment as though they were respecting a fellow human being. So as a privileged Canadian youth, I really had to ask myself, aren't the developed countries supposed to be the most happy and the least developed countries supposed to be the least happy, if the whole purpose of development is to increase the well-being of a society? And so as a young activist and laughter yoga instructor, I began to look into this, and I stumbled across Australia. Now, Australia is considered the 2nd most developed country in the world. And unlike the Himalayas, it has a great education, lots of money, and a long life expectancy. However, it has the highest suicide rate of all English-speaking countries and scores very low on job satisfaction indexes, and is thus lacking subjective happiness I found in the mountains. My home country of Canada has a similar situation. Like the Himalayas, it has high life satisfaction. Like Australia, it's rich, great education, and long life expectancy. However, what disturbs me is that Canada has the largest ecological footprint of any developed country and is thus destroying the environment to achieve its happiness. So I ask you as a perplexed 17-year-old, what development really means if one of the most environmentally destructive societies is considered one of the most developed, if one of the most miserable societies is considered one of the most developed, and if one of the poor and uneducated but fundamentally happy societies is considered as having no developmental merit. So the answer to this is the Human Development Index paradigm. It measures development based on life expectancy, GDP per capita, and education enrollment ratio. So while Canadians may be destroying the environment and Australians may be miserable, they would still be considered models to be emulated because they are highly developed. Yes, we need strong economies. Yes, we need strong businesses, but this alone is not complete. We also need people to be perceiving their own well-being through life satisfaction. And most importantly, all of this well-being has to come at a minimal cost to the environment. So what you're going to be seeing in a second is a vision of the new development paradigm. It takes all the objective criteria of the Human Development Index, multiplies it by the subjective life satisfaction of the people, and divides it all by the cost at which this comes to the environment. As thousands of youth like myself are realizing, this is the future of development. And so I had a pleasant epiphany when I went to Costa Rica and discovered that on 99% renewable resources, Costa Rica has the highest life satisfaction of the Americas, a higher life expectancy than the United States. And so while Costa Rica scores 54th on the Human Development Index versus its counterpart United States, which scores 13th, when we take into account all 3 criteria, Costa Rica scores 1st, as opposed to the United States, which scores 114th. So the reality is that indicators determine policies. If you want to bring attention to something, measure it. And I, as a young person, do not want to live in a world which declares that it's perfectly developed to have miserable citizens and to be destroying the environment. In order to change the status quo, however, we first need to redefine development and then adapt our institutions to fit this new paradigm. And I can see many of you are laughing. The good news is there's money to be made. I can tell you from my community activism that people will choose people-friendly products over pamphlets about corporate social responsibility. And the reality is, this is an issue of young people. It is the future of young people that is being devised in venues such as the World Economic Forum. The reality is that the young people who are subscribing to this people-friendly trend have $172 billion US buying power annually in the United States alone. And so to sell it to them is to make a great difference. And so I propose the creation of the first ever global think tank for a new development paradigm. Now, the idea would be to combine the private sector, so corporations, with the nonprofit sector, with governments and youth to come together with a twofold objective: to redefine how we see development and to create a practical implementation strategy. So whether you're a youth or you're a corporation, you join this coalition think tank with your own self-interest with 2 common principles: Earth first and people first. And you would use the power of branding with a logo such as this to label institutions, label governments, label products, corporations, etc., who fit the new development paradigm. So what makes this idea innovative? Yes, fair trade products already exist. Yes, eco-friendly products already exist. However, this is the first time that human and environmental issues will combine under one umbrella, transcending all individual sectors of society for a global effort at a more wholesome level of international development. Thank you so much.
Well done. Quick comments.